Imagine this. You're trapped underground, working yourself to death in the dark, told that your suffering has meaning, that it serves humanity. Then one day you discover it's all a lie. Everything you've sacrificed, everyone you've lost, it was never necessary. The people up there, living in luxury under the sun, they knew the truth all along. What would you do? That question sits at the heart of Pierce Brown's Morning Star, the explosive conclusion to the Red Rising trilogy. But here's what makes this book special. It's not really about revenge, even though that's where it starts. It's about something far more complicated. What happens when you tear down everything broken and realize you have to build something new? And building is so much harder than breaking. Welcome to Visual Fantasy Book Recommendations, the channel dedicated to fantasy and science fiction book summaries, reviews, and recommendations. It is very helpful if you hit the like, comment, subscribe, and share. Help build my channel, and let's take a look into the best fantasy and sci-fi realms out there. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into a book that's part space opera, part Greek tragedy, and entirely unforgettable. Whether you're a longtime sci-fi fan or someone who just loves a good story about underdogs fighting impossible odds, stick around. This one's worth your time. Let me paint you a picture of the world Pierce Brown created. In the distant future, humanity has conquered the solar system, but it's organized itself in the worst possible way. Society is divided by color, literally. Golds sit at the top, genetically perfect, ruling like gods. Reds work at the bottom, mining resources in brutal conditions, told they're pioneers keeping humanity alive. Between them, a rainbow of other colors, each locked into their designated role. It's a caste system on steroids, enforced by centuries of tradition, genetic engineering, and sheer military might. Morning Star is the third act of Darrow's journey. A red who was transformed into a gold, infiltrated the ruling class, and sparked a rebellion that's now threatening to tear the entire solar system apart. By the time this book begins, the revolution is in full swing. Battles rage across multiple planets. Former allies have become enemies. The dream of freedom is within reach, but so is total annihilation. Brown doesn't sugarcoat what revolution actually costs. This isn't a clean story where the good guys wear white and the bad guys wear black. It's messy. People make terrible choices for good reasons. Heroes act like villains. Villains occasionally reveal glimpses of humanity. And everyone carries scars. What makes this book work is that Brown never loses sight of the personal stakes amid all the cosmic-scale warfare. Yes, there are space battles and political intrigue and massive armies clashing. But at its core, this is a story about people trying to hold onto their humanity when everything around them demands they become monsters. Let's talk about why you'll actually care about these characters. Darrow is our protagonist, but he's not your typical chosen one hero. He's exhausted, traumatized, haunted by everyone he's lost and everyone he's sacrificed. He started this journey with righteous anger and clear purpose, but by Morning Star, that clarity has been shattered. He's made mistakes, big ones. He's hurt people he loves. And now he has to figure out if he can still be the symbol the rebellion needs while dealing with the very human reality that he's breaking apart inside. What I love about Darrow is that Brown never lets him off the hook. He doesn't get to be noble all the time. He's selfish sometimes, brutal when he needs to be, tender in unexpected moments. He feels like someone you might actually know, if that someone happened to be leading an interplanetary revolution. Then there's the ensemble around him. Brown populates this story with characters who refuse to be simple. You've got hardened warriors who crack jokes in the middle of battles, loyal friends who betray under pressure, enemies who become allies not because they've seen the light, but because circumstances force uncomfortable partnerships. One of the book's greatest strengths is how it portrays found family. These characters aren't just soldiers fighting together. They're people who've been through hell and chosen to keep showing up for each other anyway. They argue, they forgive, they celebrate small victories and mourn devastating losses. Brown gives them space to be funny and warm even when the world is falling apart around them, and that contrast makes both the humor and the heartbreak hit harder. The antagonists deserve mention too. Brown writes villains who genuinely believe they're doing the right thing. They're not evil for evil's sake. They're people who've bought into a system so completely that they can't imagine anything different. Some are cruel. Others are pragmatic. A few are even sympathetic in ways that make you deeply uncomfortable. That moral complexity is what elevates this from just another good versus evil space adventure into something that lingers with you. Beneath all the action and political maneuvering, Morning Star wrestles with some genuinely profound questions. First, there's the cost of change. Revolution sounds glorious in theory. Rise up, throw off your chains, build a better world. But Brown shows you what that actually means. It means people die, communities fracture, the old certainties disappear, and nobody's quite sure what should replace them. It means becoming the kind of person you never wanted to be, just to survive long enough to see the other side. The book asks, is change worth that price? And more importantly, who gets to decide? Then there's identity. Darrow was born a red, transformed into a gold, and has spent years living as something in between. Who is he, really? Can someone who's been remade so completely ever really know themselves? Brown extends this question to the entire society. If you tear down all the structures that tell people who they are, what fills that void? There's a deep examination of power here too. The book doesn't just critique the tyranny of the golds. It also asks what happens when the oppressed become the powerful. Do they break the cycle, or do they just spin it again with different people on top? Brown doesn't offer easy answers, which makes the questions more powerful. Leadership and sacrifice thread through every chapter. What does it mean to lead people into danger? How much can you ask others to give up for a cause? When does sacrifice become martyrdom, and when does it just become waste? Darrow grapples with these questions constantly, and watching him struggle makes him human rather than heroic. But underneath all the darkness and complexity, there's something quietly hopeful in this book. It's not naive optimism. Brown's been through too much to offer that. Instead, it's the stubborn belief that people can choose to be better, even when every incentive pushes them toward cruelty. That connection matters more than power. That love, messy, complicated, imperfect love, is worth fighting for. Let me tell you why Pierce Brown's writing works so well, even if you're not usually into sci-fi. His prose has this incredible rhythm to it. Short, punchy sentences slam into longer, flowing ones. The pacing mimics the action. Frantic during battles, slow and contemplative during quiet moments. He writes fight scenes that you can actually follow, which is harder than it sounds. And his dialogue crackles with personality. Each character has a distinct voice. Brown also has this gift for taking massive, complicated concepts and making them feel immediate and personal. He's building an entire solar system with different cultures, technologies, and political systems, but he never lets the world building overwhelm the story. You learn about his universe through characters experiencing it, not through info dumps. The emotional range is impressive too. This book contains brutal violence and tender intimacy, sometimes within the same chapter. Brown can make you laugh, then gut punch you 3 pages later. He writes grief that feels raw and real. He writes friendship that feels earned, not convenient. What really sets him apart is his willingness to let his characters fail. They make stupid decisions. They let emotions cloud their judgment. They hurt people they care about, and the consequences stick. Brown doesn't use magic resets or convenient solutions to erase the damage. His characters have to live with their choices, and that accountability makes their triumphs more meaningful. Stylistically, there's a lot of classical influence here, shades of Greek and Roman epics, mixed with modern storytelling techniques. You can feel the Iliad and the Aeneid haunting these pages, but filtered through a contemporary lens. It's mythology for people who grew up on movies and video games. Here's my honest take on who should read Morning Star and the Red Rising trilogy. If you love epic stories with high stakes and complex characters, this is absolutely for you. If you appreciate moral ambiguity and stories that don't treat you like you need everything spelled out, definitely pick this up. If you want science fiction that asks real questions about power, class, and justice, you'll find plenty to dig into here. This trilogy appeals to people who loved the Hunger Games but wanted something darker and more philosophically complex. It's for fans of Game of Thrones who can handle that level of brutality in space. It's for anyone who's ever felt crushed by systems they didn't choose and fantasized about burning it all down. But let me be clear, this is not light reading. Brown doesn't shy away from violence. Characters you love will die, often brutally. The book explores trauma, torture, and the psychological cost of war. If you need your heroes pure and your endings tidy, this might not be your jam. That said, if you can handle the darkness, what you get in return is a story that treats you like an adult. Brown trusts his readers to sit with difficult questions. He creates characters complex enough to frustrate you and break your heart. And he delivers emotional payoffs that feel earned rather than manipulative. The ideal reader is someone who wants to feel things, who's willing to invest in characters knowing they might get hurt, who appreciates that sometimes the right choice is also a devastating one. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.